everybody. Welcome to the Media Show on the Pod TV network. I'm here with Mark Lee, who has 100 years of broadcasting experience, and also Rick Rosner has joined us from California. And we just held a really great thought you had, Mark, which is actually he should bring back the fireside chats. That would be my thinking on Joe Biden. He needs to communicate better with the American public rather than leave us out hanging, which it seems to me that that's what he's doing. If he has any chance at all to win, he's got to change what he's doing. That would be actually a very positive change.
I think that would be a great idea. But Rick, what's your thoughts? Because I think the last person that did those and everything might have been Jimmy Carter, because I think Jimmy Carter had some chats and all along those lines.
That didn't work for Jimmy Carter. Jimmy Carter told Americans to lower their thermostats and wear a sweater. America hated that. Reagan came in with his optimism and his SUVs, and America liked that better. Americans didn't like hearing about austerity from Jimmy Carter. I think Biden, I don't know if he's going to do it. He needs better campaign people. I looked up the profiles of his campaign people, relatively inexperienced.
Really?
I'm not one to attack diversity protocols, but it looked like they were going for diversity over experience. I would like him to bring in Obama's people, who were very effective at figuring out how to run a campaign. I don't know if he's got any Obama people running his campaign.
Yeah, I do see he tends to have the problem that he's looking at he looks at race more than he looks at hey, I need to find the best person for the job. I just don't get this guy. He's not looking for the best and the brightest. He's looking for racial equality.
He needs a bunch of sharks. He needs to bring in sharky people.
He needs to bring in the sharks, baby, the people that actually can do something. But because he's not doing it, he's going to lose. Okay, and so like I said, if he wants to know who to blame, he can just look in the mirror every day. It'll be himself to blame, and the people he surrounds himself with. But I see he's got some really, tremendous problems.
Apparently he made some very bad choices. I think that Rick brought it up in the past and everything, but we are gearing to get into playoff season. There was a major sports event that actually involved North Carolina. People are not aware of the North Carolina connection as much as I am, but Pete Maverick, I think I'm Pistol
Pete Maravich.
Thank you.
I just lost it.
But yes, Caitlin broke his record, and he was originally from North Carolina, or at least he went to school here in North Carolina because he went to Broughton. I know Broughton was very big on him and all along those lines and everything. But that being said, we're getting ready to get into the NBA playoffs, and we're getting ready to get into the NCAA playoffs. And I believe it was you, Rick, that said that he missed an opportunity because there were millions, if not billions, of people watching the Super Bowl, and he chose not to speak to the Super Bowl.
Well, Trump, I think, skipped some opportunities too. I think Biden did the Super Bowl interview his first year, or Trump did, but then I don't know, somebody is making the decision that it's a bigger liability or a bigger risk than getting out there. And I mean, Biden does better with a teleprompter than there's always the risk that he'll misspeak. But the media is part of the problem, because the media has an inability to think for itself, and they listen to the loudest voices. And the Republicans are loud, bombarding with messaging. So we hear a ton about, Biden, whenever he misspeaks. Trump, 9 times in the last 6 months, has said that Obama is currently president. And you hear about that barely.
They're good, the messaging. But what really gets me is that, at least in the campaign ads, that none of them address the issues. But then I figured they can't. Within 30 seconds or a minute, you can't address an issue. So all they can do is say, I'm liberal, I'm conservative, I'm going to close the borders, I'm going to open the border, whatever the heck they're going to say in 30 seconds. And people are supposed to vote based on really shallow information from the individual. So we really do not have any discussion of the issues by any political party in the United States. which is what
speaking
our media show is discussing right now.
Speaking of which, and I know that you and Kim have started a media network, namely Pod TV, where me and Rick are proud to be part of. But apparently, a former MSNBC host, Mehdi Hassan, has touted his new media company that he opened on Friday evening, saying one benefit of going solo is that I'm my own boss. I can't say I've ever been a fan of having bosses. One of the appeals of doing this is that now I'm my own boss, which is a scary thought. I know that me and many people who know me, according to what he said in an interview with News Nation and Cuomo, but Hassan's new company, Zedio, will cater to the progressive left. So it seems like he's going to try to go toward the opposite of the view, and he will be seeking answers to the questions that really matter while always striving for the truth, according to a Substack website for his company. So during the interview with host Chris Cuomo, Hassan said his wife questioned him about starting the company, arguing that he is not an entrepreneur and doesn't know how to run a business, and she's right. But I surrounded myself with a good team of people. He countered, I have a very clear idea and a clear message. So it looks like he has put in and raised $4 million for the venture, and it looks like he's going to try to be the opposite of Fox, which we know is seen as
screw them. I mean, the thing is, I see that all the time, Mark, right and left. And here's why I say all those channels, screw them. Because the thing is, what they're doing is they're dishonest. They're saying, I'm going to be dishonest to begin with. Fine, go ahead. Because both of them are dishonest because they have an agenda and an axe to grind. Here's the good news of it. They can raise money because they have loonies like themselves who'll throw money into the left, just like the other loonies will throw themselves in the right. But here's the reality. It's short-lived and it's basically dishonest. So if they want to do it, fine. It's just like, I forgot which famous celebrity. Oh, it was Whoopi Goldberg. She started her own Black Network. And we know some people, Mark, have done that. That's fine. Good. You're going to limit yourself to 13% of the population. Why are you doing that? You should have Black programming along with white programming, along with Spanish programming, all in the same channel. Then you get 100%. But they love their little niches. So if they want their little niches, that's fine. But you're limiting yourself when you do stuff like that. So
here's the Fox model that lets Fox continue to Fox is essentially dishonest. If you turn on Fox,
of course, yeah.
But Fox has deals with cable companies that for every subscriber, when you pay your cable bill, a big chunk of that goes for buying the services of Fox. So you can boycott these advertisers. Fox doesn't depend on advertisers. They get all their money.
They get cable revenue.
Right.
Well, it's very interesting.
And you're going to love this one, Rick and Nick, because apparently it involves Trump's biggest rival because it involves Delaware. But definitely there is a rash of lawsuits that are threatening to stall a shareholder vote on the long-delayed merger of former President Donald Trump's social media company, namely Truth Social, and a cash-rich shell company. So two early founders of Trump Media and Technology Group have filed suit to preserve their ownership stake in the business, the parent company of the Truth Social online posting platform. The lawsuit filed Wednesday under the seal in Delaware Chancery Court by a partnership led by Wes Moss and Litinsky. So it's actually in Biden's back door because the lawsuit seeks an expedited hearing in Delaware State Court ahead of a March 2nd vote by shareholders of Digital World.
Let me explain what Trump did. Trump never stopped scamming. So Trump did what they did in the Social Network. If you saw that movie, there's a certain number of shares, and these early founders of Truth Social have some shares. Trump wants to increase the number of shares outstanding eightfold.
Right. You dilute the shareholders.
Well, apparently Digital World raised $300 million in the initial public offering in September of 2021, and about a month later announced its planned merger with Trump Media, which needs the deal to operate Truth Social. So Mr. Trump's social media company has said in regulatory filings that without a fresh source of funds, it might not survive. So we might not have a Truth Social unless they get some of the funding that they want. And post-merger, Mr. Trump would own 79 million shares in Trump Media. And based on the Digital World's current $39 a share price, Mr. Trump's holdings would be valued at $3 billion. I'm sure part of that he can use for legal dealings.
And he needs those funds, Mark, so Trump he can pay his legal bills and his judgments. So he really needs that deal to go through. But the Delaware Chancery Court, the reason why it's in Delaware is most attorneys would set up the companies in Delaware because Delaware had very favorable corporate laws. But recently, as Elon Musk has seen, they're not that favorable anymore. So they look to re-domicile in other jurisdictions. Another thing that just came by, we didn't mention on any of our channels, not just Trump versus Anderson, but a case just came out of the Northern District of, or a court in Texas. No, I think it was Northern District of Alabama. That, and all the business people are listening to know there is a Corporate Transparency Act. I had to fill it out for one of my companies. I still have a bunch of companies I got to do. Fill it out for, where you have to list who the owners are and what country they're from. The whole idea is to stop foreign people from coming to the United States and owning companies, and you never know who the owners are. It also it'll apply to trust and other legal entities. So you basically put your corporate shield out there and you hide behind your corporate shield. Guess what? The Northern District of Alabama just declared that to be unconstitutional, a federal district judge. So we're going to see where that goes, because I look at it, there's some advantage to the federal government to know who the owners of these companies are.
Speaking of owners and everything,
I have no idea. You know,
speaking of owners, Nick,
buying real estate in the United States, no one has accurate information, because you can have a Chinese owner hiding behind a corporate or trust entity that's called the American Civil Liberties Corporation. It just bought 300,000 acres in North Carolina, but you don't know it's really owned by
so Alabama's like, this is the second like iffy decision, because they're the they're the ones who said, a judge there said that frozen embryos are babies.
Yeah, but that was the Alabama state.
That was the
Alabama State Supreme Court. This is an Alabama federal district judge. I anticipate this case will go to the Supreme Court of the United States, because it really deals with, can Congress pass a law relating to corporations, which we'll find very interesting, especially disclosures of the ultimate beneficial owners of corporations. I'm sure it'll have to apply to trust and other entities.
Speaking of disclosures, apparently there is a major African-American media star that is stepping down from a major organization because of something that she revealed. But Oprah Winfrey will be leaving the board of Weight Watchers after almost 10 years following the entertainment mogul's revelation that she is using a weight loss drug. And we do know that she had an up and down battle with the weight, but she informed the company last week that she decided not to stand for re-election at the annual meeting of shareholders to be held in May of this year. And she has served on the company's board since 2015, when she acquired a 10% stake in Weight Watchers. And she said, I look forward to continuing to advise and collaborate with Weight Watchers and CEO Sima Sistana in elevating the conversation around recognizing obesity as a chronic condition, working to reduce stigma, and advocating for health equity, she said in a statement. In December of 2023, Winfrey told people that she had decided to start taking a weight loss medication, which she did not identify, after coming to the realization that weight management does not hinge solely on a person's self-control. The fact that there's a medically approved prescription for managing weight and staying healthier in my lifetime feels like relief, like redemption, like a gift, and not something to hide behind and once again to be ridiculed for it. So just wanted y'all's thoughts.
I agree with her that the Weight Watchers depends on discipline, and food is freaking delicious, and it gets more delicious every freaking year. KFC just came out with pizza chicken. They take a piece of fried chicken and they build a pizza on top of it. And how do you fight that? But this pill, Ozempic, which first became super popular among celebrities who don't want to have discipline, really works. It keeps your weight down.
It's that way.
And
it actually
for you. It helps. It's good for your body, even as far as I know, that it fights diabetes. And so.
And the thing is, when she stepped down from the board, it also hurt their stock market. I think it dropped about 10 or 20%. See, my question would be, did she sell her stock prior to the announcement? In other words, and if she did, how far ahead did she sell her stock? Or she could have kept her stock, made the announcement, and all of a sudden there goes a 10 to 20% drop in the value of her stock. But Oprah has so much money.
Yeah.
She's been such a good business lady.
Mhm.
I mean, and she's so diversified that it's going like, hey, if it went down, she may just keep it and wait for it to go back up. Who knows what's going to happen? But at the same time, I think she realizes that the drug may overtake what Rick said is the discipline. Weight Watchers requires discipline. People aren't disciplined. Pop a pill. Hey, that's easy. I'll just pop a pill every day and don't have to
And
worry
that's
about
the way
my
it
weight.
should be. We shouldn't. 2/3 of Americans are either overweight or
Yeah.
obese, and
Yes.
which means it's not our fault. It's the fault of food getting better tasting every freaking
Yeah.
year.
The food
And
getting
it
better and
becomes
everything.
addictive. It's addictive. And the thing is, this is again something that's not in the political realm, but probably should be Rick, because of the damage of being overweight can cause you, and obesity in the United States. But it's not part of our political.
No, it's not part of our
agenda at
conversation,
all.
and there definitely we've got a bullying show, and there probably should be conversations around the epidemic of obesity, because there are a number of epidemics. I know I'm a little bit overweight as well and could shed a couple of pounds and everything. But I'm going to bring up a couple of things around social media, because this is the media show. But how important do you think it is to do these comparisons? Pistol Pete played a long time ago, and he actually did it in a time that there wasn't as much of a three-point shot, and a number of other things that are different than what Caitlin Clark went through. And definitely we are comparing players from 2024 to one that might have played like in the 70s or the 60s, if I am remembering correctly, and all of those lines. But definitely we even see sometimes a fan duel is coming to North Carolina, and there's oftentimes even bets where people will say what it would be like if, say, Wilt Chamberlain was playing against LeBron James, who is currently still playing in the NBA, and all of this kind of speculative talk. But I'm just wondering, how fair do you think it is to compare a player from one generation to another, or even one gender to another? Because, like I said,
I like the discussion. I think I like sports milestones. I think it's a nice distraction from like political misery. LeBron just crossed 40,000 points career. And then like I talked to a guy who said, well, it shouldn't count because he didn't have to spend 3 years in college. LeBron went straight high school to NBA and then, adjust for that. And you can't adjust for everything, but you can always argue about it. And it's a nice argument because you're not arguing about inflation or which old man is going to, be the best president. It's
Yes. But you really you can't compare generations. I mean, the thing is, they do that same thing in chess. They go, hey, who's better, Carlsen or Fischer? And they're whole different generations, because Carlsen had the ability to grow up with just computers. Fischer did not. He had to go look at books, and it was a different type of progress. Well, let's go take a look at football, for example. Football, all you go to look at the team of the 70s, their offensive linemen weighed about 230 pounds. Today, they weigh about 330 pounds. The fact is, they're bigger, stronger, faster today than they were 20 or 30 years ago. And you're just going to see that. So when you compare, you can't really make those comparisons. However, I did see her, I watched her play a lot, and she's phenomenal because she can make the 3-point shot like it's nothing. However, here's what happens with all the NBA, Mark. They all make 3-point shots, and there's this one guy who makes half-court shots like it's nothing. There has been tremendous progress in sports over the last 20 years to where it's almost mind-boggling what these.
But there's one thing that remains constant in everything, which is the notion of injuries. I actually saw my alma mater, Marquette, go down against Creighton.
Yeah, Marquette
lost in our two star players, because one had an oblique injury, and that is our star point guard, and the other one, who was ironically his roommate, mysteriously came down with what could have been the flu or some other sort of ailment. So the two primary stars that they run a lot of their offense through were not in the game, but they still gave a very valiant effort and were in the game up until the last parts of the game when they let the game slip away. But they were like within 5 points, within like a 3 or 5 minute mark and everything. So they definitely, a lot of the players did step up, and the coach Shaka Smart praised them for actually giving a valiant effort despite going down in defeat, but they would still probably get a bye in the Big East tournament. But that separate aside, but just to get into social media, because that's the other thing I said I was going to mention. I kind of alluded to it with Caitlin, but there is a suspect in custody after threatening a Kentucky school shooting, and apparently this person was not all that brilliant because he did it recently, like in today. But a person was in custody after allegedly hacking a student's social media account and threatening a school shooting, according to Johnson County Superintendent Tom Cochran, who is over there in Kentucky, and that was released on Sunday. So we received information regarding the potential threat of a school shooting at Johnson County Middle School. Cochran said, he said the Kentucky State Police Drug Enforcement Special Investigation and the FBI Task Force was involved in the investigation. It's important to emphasize that this is a hacking incident on a student's social media account. So he said the individual who hacked the student's account and made the threat has been identified and was in custody on Sunday. So how should we be concerned about the notion of people getting into, I don't have any kids, but my nephew's accounts or any of my friends' kids' accounts and hacking them and making all kinds of threats, because social media is very much.
The big thing is that this work that the agencies coordinated, and they saw that there was a big red flag, and they came down, they found the kid and came down on him. And we need to use more technology to find more red flag people, because when somebody shoots up a mall or a school, then the reports are, yeah, we knew that kid was trouble, that we could see this coming. And with technology, you can have information from different agencies coordinated, because I said this in the last hour. One reason 9/11 happened is because police agencies, the FBI didn't talk to the CIA, didn't talk to local law enforcement. They had a ton of information that 9/11 was coming, but they didn't coordinate the information and put it all together. With technology, we can, agencies can talk to each other if they're willing to, and they should be, and catch more lunatics before massacres.
Yeah, and then you're going to see progress in that particular area. And the Pod TV has also made some progress for people who don't know. If you go on Roku, you type in Pod TV, you'll see we have 4 channels. One is sports, Mark. And right now we have several sports commentators. We're looking for more people, if you find them, to add more content to our sports channel. Then we also have politics. We have plenty of people talking politics there. I'm not sure if we're looking for more people there. Travel, okay, we're looking for more, even though Brandon does a good job, but he loops about 24/7. And then we have our live events, which we're on right now, which is runs sporadically, but you can find them all on Roku. Just go to the search engine and type Pod TV.
Yeah, speaking of live search engines and all of that, and we used to have one that involved what I'm going to mention, but apparently there are some major cars, because we did have a car show, and hopefully I'm talking to somebody about getting another car, but I didn't know y'all's thoughts around this, but apparently there was another news item that happened in the media landscape, but it involved cars, because apparently Toyota, Jeep, Hyundai, and Ford are among 1.4 million, I did say million with an M, vehicles that have been recalled. So the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration issued multiple recalls last week, including notices for more than 380,000 Toyota Tacoma trucks and more than 300,000 Jeep Grand Cherokee SUVs, all for increased crash risk. And I know that both of those cars are very popular in terms of their commercials, because they have great commercials and all of that.
Is it compute? What makes them in danger of increased crash risk?
That's a good question.
It's probably a computer thing, and then you drive it in. It takes like 2 hours. You sit around the waiting room, and they tweak your computer. Yeah. I want to go back to. I want to go back to sports for a second. I think sports are going to get weirder and crazier because of what we can do to people's bodies with technology. There's this CRISPR technology where you can edit people's genes, and we're going to have to decide, like, if you get in there and give them a little, the equivalent of a virus that makes them make more human growth hormones, so you can make, if you're a sports crazy dad who wants to have a kid who's 7 feet tall, you might be able to go to a genetic engineer and get your 3-year-old injected with something. Or what happened? I'm writing a novel set in the near future where a basketball player gets octopuses have 9 brains. They have their center brain, and then they have a brain for each of their arms. What if we started like having people have little clusters of neurons at every one of their joints, so their joints can think? Like that person would have insane moves.
They'd be in the same moves. There'd be a whole different NBA freak, and we've already seen some people that have been very unique in that sense, like Joker and a number of others that are much better than were expected of other players. And that kind of comes back to what I was talking about earlier with that whole notion of the comparison of the players then to the players now and all along those lines. But yeah, that would be
nobody knew.
What you're saying is genetic engineering. Rick.
But also, nobody knew you could make 3-point shots reliably until there was a 3-point line. Like, I want to take a team and send them back. And I want to take a modern NBA team and send them back to like the first year of the NBA to have an exhibition game. And obviously, you can't do that because we don't have time machines. But certainly, with there's a boxing video game where you could take boxers from different eras and have them square off.
Yeah, you may be able to do that electronically. But when it comes to sports, because of our limited budget, we're covering sports that are not normally covered. Like I noticed we had croquet. That's not.
We had croquet. We had curling. We had yacht. We had highlight. We've had definitely some sports that are covered, like volleyball. We've even.
I wonder if we have pickleball, Mark. Do we have pickleball?
I have found a couple of pickleball in.
Did you cover chess boxing, where you?
Well, the thing is, we actually do have a chess show, but I don't know if it's been moved over to the sports channel, Mark.
But there's chess boxing.
I know there's chess boxing. I've seen
chess boxers is you fight one around.
They fight and then they go play chess.
You sit down and you play chess. Then you go back to boxing.
We have to go see if we can pick up some content on that. But we also have Walter Cherepinsky, who does a good job with fantasy football, and then we have this new guy Joe on Sports, which apparently he's got a huge following, about 100,000 people. So we're developing the sports channel. And also we have a medical show coming up. I don't know if you two guys know that, but it's we're debuting this Wednesday. With Dr. Patmos, who's a medical doctor. It's Wednesday at 2:00. We'll make sure.
We also have that very popular show that's going to be coming on in about 30 minutes. So if you could talk about
we have
popularity of timeshare.
The medicine is huge. Here's one more sport you should cover, which is pole dancing championships.
Is there one that actually exists?
I think there are. I mean, because
Mark will have to go pick it up if we can pick it up, because what we're trying to do on our sports channel, because I told Roman Gabriel, who says we can put one of his shows up. His dad used to be a quarterback for the LA Rams, or his grandfather, whatever. And I said, well, we can't do NFL. He goes, oh, yeah, well, I'll figure a way to get you guys to do NFL. Well, we can't really broadcast the games, but we can do side events with the NFL. And that's our plan on American football, realizing that American football internationally is not recognized very well. The biggest sport internationally is actually soccer. And then what's that thing that Ankit used to play with the bat and everything? Cricket. Yeah, cricket. And the thing is, we're gonna pick up on sports on areas that ESPN.
Well, here's another event you could cover.
Speaking of folks that have been involved and everything, in 2018, Amy Hazel, and I can go find her, and everything, was the winner of the Miss Pole Dance Australia, and there is a video of her winning pole dance. So yes, I can go find that, and we can add that to the sports, and there might be later coverage as well. But yeah, she did win Miss Pole Dance Australia 2018. So I've already found that, and we can try to find that video and see if we can get it on the thing and all along those lines. And there was also one 6 months ago where Exo Elsa won the first place in the professional classic Shabash Exotic Pole. So that looks like that might have been some pole dancing as well. So definitely not just pole vaulting, because I know we've got some stuff around pole vaulting, but yes, it does look like there is some pole dancing material. So to Rick's point, we can find some pole dancing. There's even one that is called Revolution 2023 White Knights Banadica Exotic Duet. So it does look like there are some pole dancing opportunities to put out there, including some that are more recent.
Wow. Well, the thing is, we'll have some interesting content on that. And also, if somebody out there in sports land has some good sports content, please get a hold of us at the Pod TV network. Another area that we're looking at is expand is our travel network. Right now, Brandon occupies about 24/7, but if we can find some good travel travel content, we're interested in acquiring that and putting it on our travel channel. Now, with that, Mark, we're becoming like a cable network because we have travel, sports, politics, and entertainment. Yet we're not on any cable network as of yet, and that's something that we have to look at doing. And we were talking about ESPN. ESPN got started by paying the cable networks to get on, like no kidding. ESPN wrote a check to cable so they would carry them. Then they became so popular, the cable networks had to pay ESPN to keep them on, believe it or not. So ESPN right now does get paid by the cable companies, but when they started, they were actually paying the cable company to carry their content. Thought you'd find that to be interesting, how that turned around. And of course, they're having trouble.
There, you might find roller derby someplace because
roller derby
is professional wrestling on wheels. It's everybody comes up with
baseball,
a character.
Basketball, football are out of our league because the ESPN pays so much money for them and ABC, et cetera. But all these other sports are part of our niche that we can get into. And you're right, like roller derby doesn't get much love. Volleyball doesn't get much love. And so the thing is, those are the areas we're looking to expand in the
travel area is going places and eating. My wife's favorite show is Somebody Feed Phil, and he just travels the world and meets nice people and eats great, delicious stuff.
Yeah, they needs to take that Ozempic so they can keep his weight down.
Yeah, I don't know. He eats 10,000. I don't know what he does to,
Yeah, well, on timeshares, I don't know if that would be on the travel network or not. Right now, that just runs on the live network. It's something we have to look at. But Mark, you'll figure it out, right? That's your job.
Yeah, I figured out. We figured out some way to get stuff going and everything. So we'll look at roller skating, and even I was looking at motocross and a couple of other things that were in that lane. So we'll look at some of that situation and see if we can get some stuff on there and see some additional political stuff. But yes, we're always looking for good content. So folks can get in touch with us and we can find some of this content, including pole dancing and motocross and definitely bicycle racing. And as y'all just said, even roller derby, because I had been looking at some of the roller derby contests because those can be very fun and exciting to watch, and all of that spaces that people literally run into each other and have fun running into each other. I mean, there was entire episodes, as I know that Rick knows, surrounding Happy Days, and I believe it was Fonzie's girlfriend that was involved in one of those roller derby teams, and there have been a number of other classic TV shows that involved roller derby as well. Matter of fact, I was watching one of the police shows. It might have been CSI, and there was a whole storyline that involved roller derby in that and everything. But roller derby is very popular. I think it's very popular in California.
Yeah. In the politics, we do run our live World Politics on Tuesdays and Thursday. But I don't know, do we have any other content where David Walker show? I guess we're putting in quite a bit.
David Walker. We've got Ukraine, Russia, China. We've got some other shows that are politically oriented and everything. We got to figure out, maybe at some point we'll have Israel, Palestine, Jordan, if we can find somebody from those countries that can do
World Edition should be probably run on the political channel.
I think every year, several times on the political channel.
Yeah, we should run it several times on the political channel because I think that given the nature of our politics, it's going to continue to grow over the next till November the 5th, at least. I don't see how that's not going to get more and more attention. And of course, there was that Supreme Court decision that just came down. For those who haven't seen it, Anderson versus Trump, 9-0. With concurring opinions that Trump can be on the ballot in Colorado, which
the three liberals on the court did issue not a dissent, but a dissent to part of the decision.
Hey, question for you, Rick. Question for you, Rick. Since it's coming, I think it comes next week and everything, and I know a lot of people will be excited about it coming next week because we're getting ready to go into tournament season with the various college tournaments and then the big tournament and everything. But 365 bets, I think it's called, as well as FanDuels are supposed to be arriving very soon here in Durham, North Carolina, which means that people will be able to do legal online betting here in North Carolina. But I was just wondering, because I think that it's not just sports betting, but I'm sure that they have some betting in some other things as well, even though FanDuel, I think, is strictly sports. But I was wondering if they expand, because it is a sport to some degree, if they expand to the presidential and the gubernatorial race, since you are one of the people I get my advice from, should I go and try to bet on this race? And if so, how much should I put down, and what should the odds be?
The only way to reasonably bet, in my opinion,
Yes.
is to find some place where the bookies don't have a better idea of what's going on than you do.
Right.
Like I made some money betting on how much Trump weighs, because there was one of he had to get arraigned in Georgia, and part of the arraignment was they had to put his weight. And so
what was his weight?
Well, it was stupid because the line kept moving, because liberals hate Trump so much they just like to say he's a fat piece of crap, and so the line got up to, the over-under was 270 pounds, and so no, there's no way he ever weighed that much, especially since he also lies about his height. So he's only about 6'1.5". He says he's 6'3". The shorter you are, the less you're going to weigh. And then what happened was, I kept betting the under, and then they didn't even weigh him. They just let Trump say how much he weighed, and he said 215, and the bookies went with that, and I made a bunch of, I made a little bit of money.
Hey, speaking of
There's
that,
no way he weighs 215.
No, I don't think so. But speaking of that and all along those lines, Nick, and you'll be glad to know this, because apparently as FanDuel gears to launch here in North Carolina, or the Pine State as it's sometimes known as well, new users are presented with a golden opportunity to kickstart their betting journey, because they can get up to $300 in bonus bets. So this offer is exclusive for residents of North Carolina. So sorry, Rick, you can't do it and everything.
But bonus bets are terrible because there's a rollover factor.
Right.
Here's $300 for free, but you have to roll that money over 10 times. For your $300, you have to keep betting it until you don't get it. It doesn't count until you've made $3,000 worth of bets. And you're going to lose most of those bets by the time.
You're going to lose. You're right. Okay.
That's even what they said, because they said the pre-live sign-up bonus, register with FanDuel starting back in March 1st at 12 a.m. and going up until March 11th at 11:59 a.m. to receive $100 in bonus bets, additional bonuses after North Carolina sports betting goes live on March 11th, 2024. Place your first $5 bet to unlock an additional $200 in bonus bets. Eligibility: this offer is available to new users in North Carolina only. And how to claim your FanDuel bonus: you have to actually go visit the website. You got to register. You got to be verified, and then you got to do your bonus fulfillment and all of that.
I tried doing that, and I kept looking for places where I could bet where I wouldn't lose, and I kept losing. I'm like, and after a while, I got on the email with them. Like I said, let me out of this. Take away your bonus bets and just let me. And so it's not a great deal.
Yeah, it's funny. When I was in the Bahamas, this is many years ago, they had a deal with, if you bet $10, if you bought $10, they'll give you 10 more, so you have $20. Well, that's positive equity. So I was going like, gosh, so if I give you 10, you'll give me 20 as long as you bet the 20. Great. So I took it, because how could you lose? So I went to the roulette wheel. I put it on red because I go, there's a 50-50 chance you win. Wrong. It hit 00, which is the house's edge on the green, and I lost. And it wouldn't matter if I put on red or black, I would have lost. And I'm going, this is horrible. Then I started thinking maybe the roulette table was gamed, so you can't possibly. I was just going to cash it in my chips and go.
I did the same thing, and I lost the same freaking way. But
it hit 00.
Well, I don't know. It just hit the wrong color. It may have hit a 0, because there's also the 0 and the 00. But like you get, it used to be 20 years ago, you get to go to Vegas, and they give you these coupon books, and you get a free $5 play at roulette. So, okay, free money, except it still has to come up the right color. And
Well, I got some great news for people that are interested in Apple phones, which most people have. Now I even have an Apple phone. Here's the deal. 10 years ago, you had a choice to buy Apple phone or an Apple stock. If you had bought the Apple stock with the same amount of money you would have bought the Apple phone, you would have $50,000 today, 10 years later. If you bought the Apple phone, you just have an Apple phone that's out of date. That's it. So the big problem that, and this is just Americans in general, when they see a good product like an Apple phone, they should buy the Apple stock. And the Apple stock 10 years later is worth 50,000. Their $500 Apple phone today is worth zero. So what's the better investment? That's a question, by the way.
Yeah. Got to go with the better investment. Sounds like.
Yeah, right. Well, you got to buy the stock, Mark. I mean, see, this is the problem I have. In other words, and this is where who's that guy? Warren Buffett made so much money, is that he goes, I'm buying the companies that I buy normally in my daily life stuff from. So he started, since he drank a lot of Coke, he started buying Coke stock, and he made his fortune basically years ago, Berkshire Hathaway, by Coke stock. And the problem with Americans is we're trained to be consumers and not investors. So it's hard. We have two investment shows, you know, Wall Street Hackers and Modern Investments, to start training people to think like an investor as opposed to thinking like a consumer. And Warren Buffett was the most famous one because of his ability to buy Coke stock as opposed to just buying Coca-Cola. But the Apple thing just blew me away. I was going, wow. 10 years ago, if you bought Apple stock, you would have done so much better than if you bought U.S. stock. So
the most surprising Buffett company that I just found out about recently, See's Candies.
Yeah, See's Candies, one he owns. Yep.
I mean, it's really good candy, and you think it's, you know, it's their figurehead is this little old grandma who used to make the candy, but no, it's Warren Buffett.
Right. Yeah. They do own See's Candy. If they don't own it at all, they have a big position in See's Candy. Unfortunately, it's not really available in North Carolina. But when I go to Utah, where my office of National Pension Partners is, I pick up See's Candy to take here because you can't buy it in North Carolina. They're not everywhere. But a lot of these companies, especially retail, is so hard that Macy's, this just recently announced, is going to close 300 of their stores. That's the plan currently. And I say currently because right now there is another group that's looking to take over Macy's. They want to buy the whole company. So we'll have to see whether or not Macy's is going to survive, because a lot of the retail.
Well, I remember 10 years ago I was looking at Macy's, and the play was, don't buy Macy's for the retail, because retail is just in super much trouble. Buy Macy's because they own the land that Macy's is on.
Yeah, right. Yeah, in other words, the real estate. Well, same thing with McDonald's. It's the real estate. And the latest that play was in the media is, and this is something we're looking at Pod TV Network, is going on Vizio. Apparently, Walmart is about to buy Vizio. Now, this is very interesting. There's a whole great article in the Wall Street Journal about this. If you bought a TV at Walmart, you probably bought a Vizio TV. I have one of them here. Vizio loses money on every TV they sell. Now, that is strange. That's the reason TV prices are so cheap. There was a rate, like we call it, a race to the bottom, where Vizio is producing smart TVs. Other companies are producing smart TVs, and the prices just drop to the point where you can buy a 60-inch color TV for like $300. It's ridiculous. And I kept saying, how do they do it? They don't. They actually lose money, and this is in their annual report on every TV that they sell. Walmart's going to acquire them for $2 billion. Why? Not because of the TV business, even though Walmart sells a lot of Vizio. It's because of their streaming business and advertisers. Once you go on Vizio, they have their own network. See, we're broadcast on Roku, which is through a lot of, like in California, that's where they were formed. So if you have a streaming television network, you can find us on your Roku TV. You just type in Pod TV, poof, 4 channels come up. Vizio has their own network of shows that they run and advertisers, which are highly profitable. So Walmart is not buying the TVs for the TV business. They're actually buying it for the streaming business. that Vizio has built up over the last 10 or 20 years. And I found that to be quite amazing. As we keep morphing into more of a cable network than we are just a one-shot TV show, which is really weird. But I am looking at getting us on the Vizio network. It just really takes time to get hooked up with them. And frankly, we're not on any cable networks to get hooked up with cable.
We had a couple Vizio TVs, and one of them lasted like 4 years. And it was a little annoying, but then again, it wasn't, because, we had a 50-inch TV, and then 4 years later, 50-inch TV, that's not enough. So the TV dying was an opportunity to go get a 60-inch TV for.
Yeah. Well, in my back in 1993, when they first came out, I actually bought a 60-inch television, but they had rear end projection back then. It cost me $3,000 to $4,000. Maybe it was $5,000 I spent on I think maybe $5,000 on a TV set back in 1993. Today, that same TV set, $500, maybe less, 400, 300. And it's because technology has increased and the cost competition has driven it down next to nothing. Now, what we don't have a lot of cost competition is in healthcare. This is really, really bad. And you see reports of it all the time. And this is going to be one of our shows on the medical show. But basically right now, I think we're starting off with the vaccinations and the anti-vaxxers that are out there and how they defy science, which is, to me, absolutely amazing. The other day they had on 60 Minutes, or maybe it was CBS Sunday, they had the scientists behind RNA, which had been developed for years. And these have to be the most nerdy, usually I call them PhD MDs, that love to do research, love to do experiments. I mean, they spend their whole life, doing this stuff. People don't realize it. They did this since they were like 14 years old. They've done it for 40 years, developing these stupid little things that destroy, bugs and viruses and things like that. Okay. And then they perfect it, like the RNA. Well, apparently, apparently there's this one doctor around the country who's decided in his infinite wisdom, because he was a clerk for one of the people that developed it, that he was the inventor of RNA, and he wasn't. All right.
Yeah, but Lance, my Trumpy buddy, keeps bringing that guy up.
Okay, and then he goes, these vaccines don't work. They're all horrible. And he's wrong there too. Where our show is going to be about, he's wrong, basically. And unfortunately, because he has a medical degree, he purports to be an expert in the area, even though he isn't. He's not an infectious degree expert whatsoever, but he does get funded. He gets a lot of donations to go around and make those crazy statements. Now, my opinion is, of course, that the vaccines do work. That if you didn't have that, everybody here would be dead because of smallpox, and you'd be dead because of tuberculosis. You would be dead because of malaria. I mean, you just go on and on. All these diseases without the scientific improvements, you're all toast. The fact is, though, apparently the fact is, 1 million people died of COVID-19 because they didn't take they did not take the vaccine.
Just in America.
In America, right. Now, part of it is there was a little fuzziness around there where if somebody died of heart disease and had COVID, they'd mark it as COVID, and it might have been heart disease. But let me tell you, 1 million is a big demographic. So let's say 50% of it was garbage. Still 500,000 died of COVID-19. No matter how you looked at it, it was bad. The anti-vaxxers are morons. Now, my argument would be this. I don't have a problem with them, okay? Because of the theory of Darwin. The dumb people will die and the smart people will live. So
yeah, but those dumb people also infected other family members and coworkers.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, the thing is, you're right. They could infect other people, but if you take the vaccine, then you basically you're playing the odds. Just like anything in medicine, it's an odds game. You're playing the odds, and the odds are take the vaccine. It puts the odds in your favor.
80% of the people who've died from COVID in the U.S. are seniors, 65 or older.
Right.
So that dickhead in his 40s, who doesn't get his kids vaxxed, and then they go see, they infect grandma and grandpa, and
they die.
They die. And
Right.
I suspect that there were hundreds of COVID murders across the U.S. where, some low life, couple in their 40s are like, we've got a lot of credit card debt. Grandma's got a lot of money. If we get COVID, we'll live. But if grandma gets it from us, maybe she won't. And who's going to catch somebody who does that?
Yeah, it's a real problem. But here's the problem I have is that, okay, I put disclaimers on when we do these professional shows. Like when we do our stock show, we have disclaimers that, that we're here for educational purposes. If you're going to buy stocks, go seek your own financial advisor. We're going to do the same thing on our medical show. Our medical and science show, we're going to have disclaimers, okay, that this is for educational purposes only. We're not giving you medical advice. If you want medical advice, please go see your local medical doctor. Here's what gets me about this guy, because I do know his name, and he's going to try to leave it out, but I frankly don't care if his name goes in and out. But here's the problem, and I just don't think it's caught up with him yet. If he's out there purporting to don't take the vaccine, don't take the vaccine, don't take the vaccine, and you didn't take the vaccine and you died, there's a potential legal cause of action against this person for medical malpractice. Like, no kidding, Rick. I'm not his attorney. I'm not his attorney, so I won't give him legal advice, but I'm sitting there going, if I was his attorney, I would go, dude, you better put disclaimers when you're making statements like that. Just like when we say you should take the vaccine, we're still going to put the disclaimer on it, because we could be wrong. Only his doctor knows, because there's one person who's on our network who can't take the vaccine because he has cancers on cancer drugs, and the vaccine potentially would kill him. You see what I mean? In other words, there's some people that can't
the unvaxxed people are a danger to that person. That person,
yes, the unvaxxed is danger to that person. But if this person purports that and gets on the horn and tells people, hey, you shouldn't take the vaccine, you shouldn't take the vaccine, you shouldn't take the vaccine, doesn't put a disclaimer, and somebody dies because of it, I know plaintiff's attorney, they would be more than happy to take the case.
That would be great, because those people do a lot of damage. You were talking about the kid the guy he's 50 years old now. He's been looking at RNA since he was 14. This nerdy scientist. That guy knows what he's talking about, or she knows what. But then you go on Twitter, and in the profiles of a lot of like anti-vaxxers, I do my own research. So somebody who went on the internet and read articles for 45 minutes versus somebody who's been doing this for 35 years. It Lance, my arguing opponent on Naked at Night, he sends me papers and videos of this guy and a bunch of other guys. And just at first glance, the math is terrible. Just like you can, it's people who don't know how to do science trying to do science and math.
Right. Well, the other thing is, when it comes to these articles, like I'm like in the top 10% of academics that write for SSRN.com, which is Social Science Research Network, largest depository of academic journals in the world. Okay. So that sounds real good, but here's what they don't know when it comes to writing for SSRN or any academic journal. There's two types. One, peer-reviewed articles, and I've written some of those, and non-peer-reviewed. I write a lot of non-peer-reviewed. What's the difference? Non-peer-reviewed, I put a lot of stuff in, and no one who has my equal capacity has reviewed it. You follow what I mean? Mm-hmm. And somebody could pick up and say, oh, this is correct because look, it was published in SSRN. No, it's a non-peer-reviewed article. When you write a peer-reviewed article, you have a bunch of other academics actually review your article to make sure you don't have things that are wrong that are put in there before they publish it. So and this is what people are, and what gets me after teaching at Northeastern for 12 years, I was lead faculty for their qualified plan class. The first thing I ask my students, have you gone to SSRN? No, I don't even know what it is. And I throw up my hands. Dude, how'd you get a bachelor's degree? It's the largest depository of academic journals in the world. You should at least know where it is. Know it. Okay, do you know? Well, if you don't know what that is, do you know the difference between peer-reviewed and non-peer-reviewed?
And a peer review takes like a year because
it can. I think ours was done in about 3 or 4 months.
Well, that's good, but like it's still like people like the anti-vaxxers and the COVID deniers like to say, well, what about the bad information that people said at the beginning about masks, about this, about that? Well, it takes time to do science. And
that's right. Yeah. And the thing is, the last article I read was a peer-reviewed article relating to the mask. It was a percentage. Everything is a game, and it's a percentage. And they said, without a mask, your odds of being infected are like 90% if you and them don't have a mask. If you have a mask and they don't, it drops to 40%. If you both have masks, it drops to 17%. And it seemed to be a very well-written peer-reviewed article relating to masking up, and then you have to have the right mask as opposed to the wrong mask.
Right, like surgical masks are crap. You need the N95 that fit your face.
H1N1 mask.
But it's the Swiss cheese model of prevention, that everything that works against COVID, nothing works 100%. You got to, so one piece of Swiss cheese, stuff's going to get through. 2 pieces, 3 pieces, 4 pieces, less and less gets through with every, the vax, the mask, the avoiding crowds, altogether you can mitigate your risk.
Right. And the whole idea is you're just playing the odds game.
But when it comes to doctors who like say lunatic stuff, you've managed large staffs in the past, right?
Large enough that I don't want to talk about.
Right. So you know that you take a group of people that you recruit, like a dozen people. Right. You know that like 1/3 of them are going to be better than average, 1/3 are going to be average, 1/3 are going to suck. And same with doctors. What, 1 million doctors in this country? Some of them are going to be crappy. Some of them may have started out good and gotten loony. A lot of the you see this with reporters. There's a reporter named Lara Logan.
Yeah.
Used to be on 60 Minutes. They send her to the Mideast, to some horrible country. She gets kind of gang raped, attacked in a crowd in one of these misogynistic Mideastern countries, and it wrecks her brain. And now she's an insane, more than Trumpy, like QAnon, like just like crazy. And it happens to reporters. It happens to some doctors. They were legit.
Right. Yeah. All doctors are not, all medical doctors are not created equal. And we're going to be going over that on the medical show, which is going to debut Wednesday at 2:00.
I just have one quick story. Like, do not go to a doctor where every picture in his waiting room is him next to his Cessna, because that guy is paying more attention to his airplane than he
does to his medical practice. That's right. That's one thing they said. If a medical doctor is a really good investor, he's probably not a good medical doctor because he's ignoring his practice. He's into investing. So, the ones I've seen that are really good, they're very serious about what they do. And for the most part, they're pretty quiet. They're not rambunctious. So when this one medical doctor runs around and spouting anti-vax stuff like he knows what he's doing, then you do your research and the guy doesn't know what he's doing a lot of harm. The only problem is when do the plaintiff's attorneys take him down? And it's just going to be a matter of time, because I'm telling you, if you're out there spouting medical advice and you're not to people in general without disclaimers, you're asking for a major lawsuit the minute somebody has a personal injury case. So with that, we got to go because we got the travel show, timeshare show coming up. We'll see you all next week on the media show. Take care. Bye-bye.